another video. Thank you all for watching. I greatly appreciate it. So I was scrolling on my Twitter feed, or X, or whatever you want to call it, and I came across this screenshot from dd/_geopolitics. So I'm going to read it off, and then I'll kind of go into other sources or other people talking about it. So from this screenshot, it says, breaking: Armenian seismic station detects possible explosion in Iran. An Armenian station detected a 4.6 magnitude seismic event in Iran last night. Researchers noted that it lacked a seismic compressional wave, making the event more consistent with an explosion rather than an earthquake. The seismic activity was centered in the Kavir Desert near the town of Aradan, and comparisons between typical earthquake vibrations and nuclear tests suggest this event more closely resembles a nuclear test. Notably, no aftershocks were recorded, which is another clue pointing to an explosion rather than natural seismic activity. So I want to kind of look at Google Map. So I put into Google Maps, and that is, if I typed it in correctly, pretty close to Tehran. So you're probably looking at about, you got the Kavir National Park, so you got the Kavir Desert, looks like in this part. So you're probably looking at about maybe 100 miles to Tehran. 75-ish miles looks like it. But yeah, it's really close to Tehran. That's close to, I think that's pronounced Qom, but I'm not positive on the pronunciation. So Armenia, country in the Caucasus, an Armenian seismic station picked up on it. So you're looking at probably 500 miles or so. Yeah, about 450, 500 miles, depending on where the station was in Armenia. So let's kind of go through that again. A 4.6 magnitude seismic event in Iran noted that it lacked natural seismic compressional waves that come with an earthquake. Comparisons between typical earthquake vibrations and nuclear tests suggest it more resembles a nuclear test because there were no aftershocks that were recorded. So, multiple different. I just typed in Iran nuclear test. A couple times now, earthquake hits Iran's Aradan, tremors felt in Tehran. Potentially, it was a seismic activity. There was one from India.com. Did Iran conduct underground nuclear test on Saturday? The New York Times from a couple days ago. Iran would need more time. I don't know if it was decapitation of Hezbollah. You're just taking out the leader. Is not a decapitation strike. Hezbollah still has, hundreds of thousands of rockets and missiles and aerial projectiles. Al Jazeera, Iran's cancellations of flight, critically important, in this also. You got to take into account that there was cancellations of flights. So maybe this is seismic activity. We don't know for sure. So Times Now World, I haven't actually heard of this source before. Earthquake hits Iran's Aradan, tremors are felt in Tehran. 4.5 magnitude earthquake struck the town of Aradan in Iran's Semnan province on Saturday night. Quake occurred at approximately 10:45 local at the depth of 10 kilometers. Okay, so that's a pretty sizable distance down. Maybe it is seismic activity. Or there's a possibility that it's not seismic activity, and it was an Iranian nuclear test. The conflict between, all these different actors at play in the Middle East has been going on for about a year at this point. So you can't really rule anything out truly. So there's a possibility that this was seismic activity. This was an earthquake. That's all there is to it. Or there's also a possibility that this was an Iranian nuclear test. And if that scenario pans out to be true, then that changes the entire situation on the ground. Because if we look at, the Middle East as of, there's war going on in the Gaza Strip, Hamas fighting against the IDF. Israel has kind of focused more on their northern border, trying to take on Hezbollah and the southern Lebanon. They did take out Nasrallah, but that doesn't mean that you take out the entirety of Hezbollah. There's still thousands of rockets, thousands of soldiers. Hamas is still active in the Gaza Strip, so there's conflict in the Middle East, and then there's conflict in Syria, and then there are the Houthis in Yemen, and then so if the Iranians did in fact have a underground nuclear explosion, then that changes the situation entirely. There's a very real possibility that there's a very catastrophic regional war in the Middle East, even more so than what we've already had, between Israel and between Hamas and between Hezbollah and between the Houthis of Yemen. You have Ansar Allah, which is the Houthis. You have Hezbollah in Lebanon. You have Hamas and other actors in the Gaza Strip. Iran has had missile strikes against Israel, 1 or 2 as of time of recording. So the Middle East is on the brink of just total war. And if this was in fact an Iranian nuclear test, this changes the entire calculus. There's a very real possibility that war truly breaks out in a regional scale. But who knows? This could either be seismic activity, or this could be an underground Iranian nuclear test. I'm not sure which it is, but given the uncertainty and given the fact that the Middle East is on very, very high amount of tensions, you have to cover this. You have to talk about it. And I'm recording this Sunday, October the 6th, 2024 at about 8:15, 8:30 at night. So over the course of the next couple of days, weeks, we'll see what happens. But since there is an aura of uncertainty in the air, I feel like I'm compelled to talk about it. Either this is natural seismic activity, and it's nothing, or it's an underground Iranian nuclear test that could lead to a wide-scale, very devastating regional war. Okay, signing off. I'll see you all in the next video. We'll see what happens. Deuces.